Record of Ragnarok, or Shimatsu no Valkyrie, is home to some of the best fights in all of fiction, full stop. When it comes to just pure fighting and telling a story through battle, it really is unmatched to what I have read or watched in my life. Adam vs. Zeus was an iconic battle. Kojiro vs. Poseidon was pure anticipation, and the battle between Heracles and Jack the Ripper was so exciting. Now, Jack the Ripper and Heracles fight is my favorite in the series and might be my favorite fight in all of fiction. I think the blend of fighting while adding in the backstory of each character was brilliant, and the dynamic of the benevolent god versus a malevolent human was a very interesting contrivance to the previous fights, which generally featured a good human hero against a morally unjust god. Though, there is a battle that I do believe goes nearly untalked about by the fandom. I never really see much hype or talk about it. While I honestly can partially understand why, it is also my least favorite fight in the series, but that doesn't really change the fact that this deserves to be talked about much more. As if you're the worst fight in a series full of the best fights in all of fiction, that doesn't mean it's a bad fight. The fight I'm talking about is the first fight between the Norse god of thunder, Thor, and the Chinese hero, Lu Bu. While I do believe that it was Adam vs. Zeus, that fight, that had newer readers stick around for more, the Thor vs. Lu Bu fight still had to have piqued the interest of the readers to stay long enough to get to that fight. While yes, the Thor vs. Lu Bu fight ends in only 6 chapters, it is important to remember that Record of Ragnarok, or Shimatsu no Valkyrie, is a monthly series, meaning each chapter released is several times the lengths of chapters you might typically read in Shonen Jump. This means it was really like 18 to 25 plus chapters worth of content packed into those first 6 monthly chapters. So, the Thor vs. Lu Bu fight was more than enough to let people stick around to the point where they could reach the titanic battle of Adam vs. Zeus. But I wanted to discuss the Thor vs. Lu Bu fight, talk about why it is phenomenal, and that it deserves to be praised much more than it does currently. Now, some of my other Record of Ragnarok videos have done quite well, reaching over 1,000 likes, so this video can also reach 1,000 likes. That'd be very much appreciated. And thank you guys so much for giving me 40,000 subscribers. I really much appreciated so much. Next goal is 50,000, so we're well on our way to that already. I will be doing more Record of Ragnarok content in the near future. It is kind of what happened when I first got into the series, is that there was only like 12 chapters at the time. It's a monthly series, and I was just really busy. Now I'm just really getting back into the series again. I still have been reading monthly since then, but now there's enough really content in the series to make content of it, so that's what I will be doing. Also, huge news. I'm not late to it, I'm late to saying it to you guys, but Record of Ragnarok is having an anime coming in 2021, which will probably break the internet, so be ready for that, guys. I'll be doing more Record of Ragnarok videos between the release date of that anime. Don't know if it's announced the official release date, but it is 2021. That being said, guys, please do leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to hire me as an online personal trainer, link to my website will be linked down below in the description. One of the ways that makes this fight great is the dynamic that is fit between the two of Thor and Lu Bu. Both are beings of pure strength. Thor noted for his divine strength that towers over even the other gods in the heavens, leading him to boredom. Lu Bu's strength having far surpassed any other mortal, leading him to boredom as well, even letting himself die because he was so bored. Though the two beings of strength would bring each other immeasurable excitement, it is important to note that Thor was so strong among the heavens that while holding back, he defeated an entire army of gods when he defended Asgard from the Jotun threat. So if an entire army of gods only made Thor yawn, the fact that Lu Bu could bring excitement to the Nordic god of thunder adds to his merit. Even more to the dynamic is that of beauty, Thor being portrayed to near perfection, while Lu Bu more so portrayed to be an ugly brute. The fight choreography is brilliant, especially when paired with the impeccable illustrations provided by Achika. Thor and his mighty hammer versus Lu Bu and his mighty halberd. In the very beginning of the fight, when Lu Bu shows off his fighting and physical prowess to the thunder god, we get quite an interesting statement. Thor says that Lu Bu's abilities are wasted on being a human, that he should have been spent on a god instead. That is to highlight that Thor is strong because he is not immortal, whereas Lu Bu is strong despite being a mortal. This being the first fight in the series, it does a great job at building up the explanation for how mere humans are able to stand up and fight against the gods in this tournament. Brunhild, the eldest of the Valkyrie sisters, talks of the gods and their cheats, as many use divine weapons, and that the only way that a human can fight a god is if they had a cheat or divine weapon of their own. It is revealed that there are 13 Valkyrie, one for each of the human representatives in this tournament. Each Valkyrie will commit Valund with their chosen champion. Volund is the process of a Valkyrie transforming themselves into a divine weapon. This not only makes the weapon incredibly powerful and strong enough to kill gods, but even increases the physical capabilities of the wielder. Lubu's halberd was called Skypiercer, and thanks to the Valkyrie Rongris, whose name translates to Shieldbreaker, he is able to pierce through any form of defense, this almost acting as a law for the weapon. This fight features one of the greatest twists, as it was stated that Thor has two divine weapons, Yarngripper, the magical gauntlets to protect Thor from anything, and the Jotun's Bane hammer itself, Mjolnir. It is stated that Thor uses the Yarngripper to protect himself from the immense power leaking from his mighty hammer. Though, when Lubu is able to break the Yarngripper and seemingly take the upper hand, he had only set his own dark fate in stone, as it was revealed that it wasn't the Yarngripper protecting Thor from the power of Mjolnir, it was the reverse. No, Thor was so strong that it was Yarngripper acting as the barrier of defense between Mjolnir and Thor's mighty grip. This was a great twist because it really flipped the fight on its head, as we were rooting for Lubu in this battle against the god of thunder, and it seemed he had taken the upper hand. Instead, he had just turned the tide of battle against his favor, as Mjolnir would awaken soon after, and now Thor would be able to wield its full planet-crushing power without the Yarngripper separating the two. This is how the writers of this story, Shinya Omamura and Tokumi Fukui, blend the interesting myths of Norse mythology with their own plans of their own story, Record of Ragnarok or Shimatsu no Valkyrie. An amazing plot point within this fight is that it was a very strike of lightning that had set forth in motion the many motivations for Lubu to get stronger, as when he was a child, he had witnessed lightning strike a tree and split it in two. As he awed at the sky, he wondered at the possibility of what the heavens could have in store for him, so he fought and trained hard so he could grow strong, maybe one day he'd get his chance to actually have fun. He would of course finally get his wish in this fight, being incredibly entertained by this fight in the heavens. But it makes me wonder if it was indeed Thor, the god of thunder and lightning, who had struck the lightning down upon the tree that Lubu had been by. Whether Thor did it intentionally or unintentionally, I do believe that it must be him based on the incredible fight we get here. This very lightning strike would cause the young Lubu to eventually train and discover his strongest and most powerful ability. This is called Sky Eater, and he practiced it many tens of thousands of times throughout his life. Eventually, he had mastered the technique so that he could split even the very sky above him. Finally, one day, he would get his chance to use the ability on the mighty thunder god who set in motion the many events of his life. Paired with his halberd, Volund, Lubu would summon all of his might into one final blow, and he failed. He failed miserably. He was indeed still no match for the very heavens that inspired him. Though he failed, it still is beautiful. Minutes prior, he had lost his legs. Now his arms were gone. With his missing arms, his face filled with joy as he rushed headfirst into battle one last time. Lubu, the strongest human, went down with a fight that rattled the heavens and entertained the many deities who lorded over us mortals. The meshing of beauty and brutality was heavily present in this bout, especially when Lubu was seemingly hopeless towards the end of the fight. Though he warded off a blow with Mjolnir, the force of the blow had completely broke his legs and caused the bones in his shins to splinter out from the skin. With barely being able to stand, his trusty horse, called Red Hair, would come to his aid. Horses are well known for their beauty, and are still often used in wars, which are of brutality. So Lubu, using his trusted mount's legs instead of his own broken ones, was an absolute combination of the two themes. Though in order to unleash his full power, Lubu's brutality would overwhelm the beauty of the horse, as he clenched his legs so hard into the sides of the horse that it partially impaled it and caused the horse to bleed from the mouth. This is a symbolism to show that Lubu's brutality wasn't enough to overpower the beauty of Thor. It was an incredible fight that ends with much emotion. Thor is visibly upset, likely because he lost the only person to him that could come close to matching him in strength. Lubu's horse even charged at Thor with tears dripping from its eyes, and all of Lubu's army were struck with tears as well. The blending of emotions, so happy to see their leader filled with joy from a challenging fight, but now losing him to the void of nothingness. His soul being sacrificed thanks to losing this battle. Though his men were so loyal to him, they came to the realization that neither heaven nor earth were worthy to live in without Lubu. So they attacked Thor, so they could be reduced to nothingness just like their dear leader. Their souls now removed from the cycle of rebirth. Despite Thor versus Lubu being my least favorite fight in Record of Ragnarok so far, it still is a phenomenal fight, and whatever you say, it is the fight that still led people to get into the Adam vs. Zeus fight, which is overall known for being, I guess, the figurehead of the series, even though I still think that Heracles vs. Jack the Ripper is a better fight. But Adam vs. Zeus is like the figurehead, the poster child for Record of Ragnarok. But Thor vs. Lubu is the one that kicked it off, the one that introduced the concept of Balloon, the one that started the tournament. It was a great, phenomenal fight. I would probably put it as a top 15 fight of all time in any sort of fiction ever. That's insane. Just think of all the manga that I've read, dozens of manga that I've been into, all the different other books, TV shows, movies I've watched, and it's top 15 all time, and yet it's the worst in the series. That is how good Record of Ragnarok is when it comes to fights. With that being said, even though Record of Ragnarok, Thor vs. Lubu is the worst fight of them all, it is still the most underrated, because it does not deserve to be far below any of the other fights. All of these fights, in my opinion, are in the same tier of caliber. Record of Ragnarok, Thor vs. Lubu deserves to be mentioned with the rest of the fights. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think of Thor vs. Lubu? Please leave a like if you enjoyed, comment your thoughts, subscribe, and turn on notifications. If we get this video to 1,000 likes, I will for sure do another Record of Ragnarok video next week, because there are some things I want to talk about. Hypothetical matchups, power scaling, stuff like that. But that being said, guys, hope you guys have an amazing day. Hope you enjoyed this Record of Ragnarok video. First one in almost a year, but we're back. Hope you guys did enjoy. Merry Christmas.